Hello, Jane Downey, and welcome
Yeah.
to Rebel Women, a playbook to your career in health and safety. Thank you so much for joining me here today. So,
Thank you for having
Jane, tell me a little bit about yourself and how your career in health and
me.
safety has evolved over the years.
I'm currently Senior Head of Health and Safety at Arqiva, so a big broadcasting, engineering, telecommunications. Going back some years, it probably makes me feel older than I'd care to admit. Around 20 years ago, so came into the wonderful world of safety quite young. I started as a health and safety administrator. Came from an accountancy background, so health and safety within civil engineering was super fun. So it was like all diggers, dumpers, bridges, some heavy stuff. So super exciting, especially being younger, out on site, kind of seeing how this stuff works. It was really nice actually. My first job that I got into in health and safety, the site was at a business where my granddad used to take me in his van when I was a little girl. Like nipping in for work, so it's kind of went full circle a little bit. So started as a admin, looking after training, the ISO accreditations, and kind of learn every role from that point. How it evolved, I was just super enthusiastic. I think I was young, it was new, it was exciting. Said yes to everything. Do you want to go and do this? Yes, I do. Let me go and have a look. So I think they saw something in me at that point. Offered to do the NEBOSH, did that. Did really well in the NEBOSH, so did more. And then got headhunted ever since for bigger roles, stepping up significantly. And now I find myself here. How it's evolved, I think coming from an admin background, it was very much focused on procedures, ISO accreditations, data reporting. I think now my role's less about procedures, but more about influencing executives, challenging decisions, shaping the strategy. Kind of all the frustrations that I've picked up over the years. Now I'm in a position to say, right, how do we get rid of that? How do we make it simpler? How do we kind of
So
empower the
good. Yeah.
experts? So that's where I am at the
Yeah.
minute with a lot of experience, but like, what do we do
Yeah.
now? So
Lovely. What a great background. It's so interesting because I haven't met anybody so far through these podcasts who has joined health and safety on purpose. It's always
no.
been a circuitous route, but the accountancy sort of one is a new one. So that's really, really interesting. So looking back over your career, has anything surprised you about working in health and safety?
uh, I'd what everything. I'd say probably again moving up as well. It's not technical. I don't think the biggest risks are technical. When I started out, it was I was obsessed with the detail, the theory, the technical parts of it. So I learned how to stop people falling from height, how and why we need to like isolate electricity. And that science bit was really interesting. But I think the difficult bit is the people. Um, how you get them on board, how do you kind of empower them, how do you get them to, everybody cares, nobody wants to get hurt, but how do you make it not just a priority, but how do you embed it into every decision that they make? So again, like coming in from not just thinking about this, the safety book tells you this, but realizing that they have got competing priorities. There's always commercial pressure. The customer's always right, as we always know, but it's just having a different tactic, I think, and kind of respecting their job and what else they've got on the plate. That was the biggest thing that surprised me. Um, I guess is the biggest risks are really technical. It's about people.
Yeah, that's come through very, very strongly so far from
Okay.
the conversations that I've had. And do you think that anything has changed over the last 20 years that you've noticed? I mean, for me, there's more acknowledgement of that. That's a change. And is there anything that's stayed stubbornly the same, would you say?
Got loads of changes, I'd say, especially from a woman perspective. I felt when I first started, I was often the only woman in the room. I often felt like I had to be a louder voice than naturally I would have been in that setting to get my point across. Now I feel it's a lot better balanced. I also feel we're getting much better on the well-being perspective. So there's been a big shift. So it's not just about compliance, but culture in a lot of the organisations that I've worked before. So we're getting better at a lot of stuff. It's still highly technical. There's still rules, regulations, and all that stuff to get your head around. So that's the kind of rigid bit, I guess. But it's there for a purpose, and it's, for me, it's less you must do rather than right, how are we going to do this? No, I think it's less dictator and it's more kind
Okay.
of right, guys, what do we think? What we're going to do? So,
More
especially
collaborative then. Yeah.
collaborative, that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
But that's probably changed throughout business in terms of the way that leadership and management functions, hasn't it? It was command and control, and now it's much more
Yeah,
collaborative.
yeah, I think so, definitely.
Yeah. And what has been one of the biggest challenges in your career, would you say, and what has helped you navigate it? You know, would it
Oh,
be networks, mentors, stuff?
networks are so important to me. I couldn't have got where I've got or achieved what I have without a really strong network behind me. I've had some really influential leaders behind me as well that have kind of challenged the way that I think. Sometimes leaders that I've thought I've learned what not to be like, in all honesty. So you learn from the good, but you learn from the not so great too. Um, Challenges. God, a lot. I think I've had situations where I've had to walk into a boardroom and tell senior executives stuff that they just don't want to hear, and it's been uncomfortable. I put that up as a big challenge, but it's how you position it, how you make it real, how do you kind of justify what you're saying to get them on board, and so they know that you're there to help, not to kind of criticise. Um, Another thing, again, what I've kind of been challenged with in previous roles is not really about safety, in all honesty. Again, I go back to people all the time, but it's when businesses ultimately go through changes and restructures and obviously the redundancy word, it's how do you kind of get a health and safety team still motivated, because safety doesn't stop even through change. So it's how do you kind of navigate through an empathetic way, but keep everything on track while the business is changing around you. That's never easy, especially when people are involved and it's the job. So,
And what's helped you with that, would you say, specifically? And
um,
those networks that you talked about, are they in your company or are they outside of your company?
both. So I've got a strong network of really strong women within the business that I work at the minute that are ultimately leading the same challenges throughout. So it's often a, should we go and get a broom and just talk about how it's how we're going to do this in the best way possible. I've also got a big network through different channels, different industries, which is always nice to get an outside perspective and somebody who's not close enough to the detail that can give you some really good advice. I guess what's helped me is I'm a very empathetic person. I don't know if that's actually helped or made it worse, in all honesty, because I kind of feel it for them. But I think as long as they know that you've got the back, it's kind of, it helps you get through the challenges with it, and knowing that you've got a strong network and some mentors around you to guide and keep you sane throughout it is a massive, massive help.
And do you think that being a woman has created particular challenges or opportunities throughout your career? Or do you think that it doesn't really matter, A, whether you're male or female, or B, what the profession is?
I've probably got a different answer to this because I know a lot of people have had challenges in the past. I've often found it's created opportunities for me, and I don't know if it is because I've mainly worked in a male dominated industry. They've often made space for that. I don't know if it's the time where I joined. I don't know if it's just I was lucky with the businesses that I've been a part of, but I think they've always respected that different perspective. I think it's a strength rather than a challenge personally for me.
It's been an opportunity. That's
Yeah.
good. It's interesting because I do see two very different answers to that question generally. In the past, when I first joined the profession 35 odd years ago, it was a very narrow demographic. You know, it was generally men, generally over 50,
Yeah.
generally ex-army, ex-police, and there's been an explosion of certainly age difference and also gender. Why do you think it's important that we encourage diversity in the profession in general?
I think if you don't get that diverse thinking, you're in danger of doing what you've always done before, and it becomes very much scripted in that way. Like the team I work with at the minute, I've got a really nice, diverse team. We've got people from all nationalities, different religions. I've got a 50-50 split of women, men, which is good. Um, I think if you don't have that diversity, it's almost you don't have that different dimension of thinking. It's not. You're always in danger of doing what you've always done before. You need that different perspective.
So looking back, what do you think made the biggest difference to your ability to succeed and to stay the course in the profession? You've talked about having good leaders, you've talked about having good networks, a lot of strong women around you, and you've talked about being empathetic. Is there anything else that you'd like to point to in here?
Resilience. So I think anyone in safety um, would say you need to kind of dust yourself off and go again quite a number of times, especially when you're working with executive teams, trying to change culture. It's not done overnight. It's very easy to kind of give up if it's not going at the speed. If you're I'm 100 miles an hour, so I like things to happen quickly. I like to get stuff done, and sometimes it takes time to get there with it. I think resilience is key to it, and just staying really clear on the purpose. Why are we doing this? And then it gives you that energy to keep going.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, you have to be resilient in this profession, don't you? It won't suit you if you're if you're not.
Yeah,
So tell me about a moment, achievement, or a turning point in your career that you're particularly proud of. A major decision, a team, a culture you changed, a piece of work you're known for, something like that.
a piece of work. So I used to work in a very well-known builders merchant, national, very large company in the tool hire division. So we had an issue with diggers and dumpers that kept overturning, and people were getting seriously injured and worse. It's really difficult because there was no set regulations around age, handovers, or anything. Um, what I'm most proud of is a piece of work we did, and it wasn't me that did it. So I stood in a room and thought, right, who's going to change this? And there was a big realization that from a customer point of view, the driver is the only person and the only interaction they have with the company. So I got all the drivers together, stood up, big venue, and said, I've got this problem, guys. I need your help. On the back of it, we designed a full handover process, and we changed how the industry does that. The videos were designed by the HGV drivers that were handing over the kit, because ultimately it was them that had to have that conversation with the customer. But we went bigger. We took it to the industry. We got other plant hire businesses involved, and we started a bit of a movement with it. The incident massively reduced, but that's the kind of aim, the end goal of it. But the drivers, they felt listened to. The biggest bit that I'm most proud of, I guess, is walking into a branch and asking a guy stood outside a question. He went, "Oh, don't ask me, darling. I'm only a driver." It's like, only? Like, only? It's like, listen, all the executives could walk out of this building and the company would carry on. But if we've got no drivers, we've got no business. And it was kind of that empowering piece for them. And I think that got me the respect to be able to kind of lead what we did with it. So it's that shift in mindset for me that
Yeah,
you don't
yeah,
need to be an
yeah.
executive to make a big difference. You just need to care.
What a fantastic story. I love that. What a great thing to have done. The next question is around legacy. What legacy would you like to leave in health and safety?
In terms of legacy, I think moving the conversation from compliance to culture for me, making it easier. I'm a simple person. Spade's a spade. Say it as it is. How do we kind of cut the bureaucracy out of it? How do we make it just embedded? That's my current at the minute. So working in a very technical business, how do we just get back to basics? What's the three things you need to, and what's the three things you don't? So I'm on a kind of simplification, get stuff done, make it easier mission at the minute. So, and I think that's going to be long continued. So
I love that, and I tell you why. I find one of the real frustrations I have with health and safety is that there's a constant, it seems like there's a lot of additional technical language and ways of actually framing things which actually turn everybody else off.
yeah,
And even the word risk assessment, like, I think that sends a shudder
exactly.
down. It certainly sends a shudder down my spine, and I think it does for most people. And then the latest sort of thinking I've heard of is energy safety, and it's like, oh, really? Apparently, we're going to need a translation table for that. That's exactly what you're aiming to do.
Yeah, definitely. It's what do we need to do? How are we going to do it safely? And what's our plan? So just kind of cutting it, stripping it right back, and just getting the right people on board with it. Easier said than done, but
Yeah,
we're on a mission.
yeah,
We'll get
and actually,
there.
things that are simple are often hard, aren't they? And actually,
Yeah.
it's almost like, the whole thing about when you write something, haven't got time to write something short because it's a really long thing, but it's much harder to actually make short, simple things. What advice would you give a woman in health and safety?
Okay. My biggest advice would be to be yourself. So don't think that you need to leave your personality at home. I often think leading just genuinely and having them genuine conversations gets you a long way. Don't feel like you have to follow a leadership style. Again, just be yourself, ask the questions, be really curious. That's what really helped me on my journey. Say yes to every opportunity and just go and have a look. If it doesn't work out, if it does, it's fine. It's all good learning experience. But yeah, the personality thing, be yourself, be genuine. And if you really care about it, it'll come through in how you talk about it, and that'll get you far, I think. It has for me.
Well, thank you so much, Jane Downey. It's been wonderful speaking to you. So thank you so much. Bye.
Bye bye.